What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey, this is my channel, and today is Top 10 Tuesday. Now, if you don't know what that is, let me explain it to you briefly. So Top 10 Tuesday is a day that I just made up where we go over top 10 lists regarding all things money, investing, and side hustles. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 side hustles that you have never heard of. These are side hustles that I've never talked about on this channel. They are ones that are not in mainstream media. They are ones that YouTubers don't really talk about either. So these are going to be 10 completely unique ways to start making money today. The best part is they don't really require any upfront investment, no experience required. All you need is you, your time, your energy, and your effort, and you can start making money today. So let's get started. So let's just dive right into it. So this top 10 list is going to be based off of the top 10 side hustles that you've never heard of, and they're going to be in chronological order based off of what I feel like is the best ROI whenever we take into account things like time and energy required, upfront investment required, and also the income potential. So these will be in numerical order based off of number 10 being my least favorite of the 10 and number 1 being the best opportunity of the 10. Now with that, let's dig into number 10, which is print-on-demand stores. Now, for those of you who don't know what print-on-demand is whenever you have a design that you've created or a logo or something that you've created, and then you can get that printed on merchandise, things like shirts, sweatshirts, clothing, bags, mugs, phone cases, and more. There are a lot of different companies out there that can facilitate a print-on-demand business where basically all you would have to do is come up with the design, the logo, the thing that's going to be printed on the merchandise. You then upload that graphic onto one of these websites, and then that gets printed on the merchandise or the item that you're then wanting to sell. A handful of these different print-on-demand websites include Printful, Spod, Printify, T-Launch, Teespring, Lulu Express, and T-Pop. Now, whenever it comes to making money with this type of side hustle, there are a handful of different ways that you could end up going about doing it. Number 1, you could create a Shopify store and you could run Facebook ads or Instagram ads promoting your product. Number 2, you can start gaining an audience and gaining subscribers on social media and then selling your design to them. And number 3, which I believe is the most accessible of these options, is an Etsy shop. You can open up an Etsy shop selling your merchandise, and then whenever somebody buys a product on Etsy, all you do is simply place the order with your print-on-demand service, and then it gets shipped to the customer. Sort of like drop shipping, but not exactly the same thing. All in all, though, print-on-demand is a great side hustle. It's easy to get started. It's something that is great for the creatives out there that like art, and it's something that you can start quite quickly if you have designs in your arsenal that you could use on a print-demand product. The 9th side hustle is putting together furniture, specifically IKEA furniture, and specifically on the platform TaskRabbit. Now, we've talked about TaskRabbit before in this channel, but we have not talked about the specific side hustle of putting together furniture. Now, this may seem like something that is a bit unnecessary, but the fact is that couldn't be further from the truth. Now, the website TaskRabbit, which funny enough is owned by IKEA, which I didn't realize until I was making this video, they have an entire section on their website for furniture assembly, where you can sign up as a TaskRabbit freelancer and you can start applying to jobs for furniture assembly. According to TaskRabbit's website, you can get $45 to $68 for putting together a bed frame, $87 to $116 for putting together a bed frame, which comes with storage, $88 for a daybed assembly, and the list goes on with a variety of different IKEA furniture items. Now, this is great because of the fact that IKEA furniture does not require a whole lot of experience or a whole lot of expertise to be able to do. Virtually anybody can put together IKEA furniture. All you have to do is have some extra time on your hands. And so if you're somebody that has time on your hands, if you enjoy putting together furniture, especially puzzle-like ones like IKEA furniture, then this is a perfect side hustle for you that is available in most major cities in the United States. Now, of course, with this side hustle, you're oftentimes paid by project on a per project basis, which means the more efficient and the quicker you can get at furniture assembly, the higher you can get paid. And those are my favorite types of side hustles because there are ones that reward you for efficiency rather than reward you for inadequacy and stalling and taking your time. With this type of side hustle, if you can get good at assembling furniture adequately and efficiently, then you could end up making quite a lot of money. Number 8 is car mechanic and diagnostic services. Now, this is one that I sort of just made up, and there is no app that facilitates this, though maybe I should invent it because I think it is a wonderful idea. Now, one of the problems with like mechanic shops and car shops is the fact that you never know what actually needs to get done to your vehicle because of the fact that you always feel like you're getting scammed. Now, let's give an example. So let's say, for example, you take your car to the mechanic shop because you think it needs new tires. Well, whenever you take it to go get new tires done, the mechanic is inevitably going to tell you that you probably need new brakes, maybe new rotors, maybe new calipers, and also needs a fluid flush. Well, if you're somebody that knows about cars, then it's easy for you to say what that car really needs and what it really doesn't need. But if you're like a whole lot of people in America, then you probably don't really know what actually does and does not need to be done to that car. And more often than not, you either don't end up getting stuff that needs to be completed, or you end up overpaying for services that you never needed to begin with. That's where this side hustle idea comes into play. One thing that I think is missing from the car marketplace is a non-biased pro that can go in and diagnose your vehicle on your behalf. This would be a mechanic that would not complete any of the repairs on your car. They would not actually work on your car. They would simply diagnose the vehicle. That way, once you take it to the mechanic who will be completing that work, you know what does and does not need to be completed. Now, the reason why I see so much value in this type of side hustle is because of the fact that if you are just simply diagnosing the car and you're not going to be repairing it, then you have no incentive to upsell on unnecessary repairs because you have no skin in the game. You're going to be paid the same regardless of what repairs end up getting done to that vehicle. And because of that, there is absolutely no incentive not to be honest to the customer. In fact, there is a ton of incentive to be honest and to make an effort to save the customer money because of the fact that if the customer ends up using you time and time again, anytime their car needs a repair, that means more money and more business for you. Additionally, kind of a secondary service that you could offer on top of this side gig is like a kind of automotive mechanic liaison, somebody that speaks to the mechanic on the customer's behalf. That way, you, somebody who may not know anything about cars, doesn't have to feel like they are being talked down upon, doesn't have to feel like they're speaking an entirely different language than the mechanic doing repairs to your car. You simply pay somebody a flat rate fee, they will diagnose your car for you, they will also speak to the mechanic on your behalf, and they will make sure that you do not get screwed with any transaction. Now, since this is simply an idea I made up and this app doesn't exist, the way that you could potentially market this idea is through Craigslist, Facebook, or even contacting people directly. I think an alternative route could even be to like go to senior living facilities and talk with them. Seniors oftentimes need somebody to advocate on their behalf, and there are a lot of seniors out there that feel like they get screwed by people like mechanic shops. But there are a lot of ways to go about getting customers. The fact is, nobody likes being screwed by a mechanic, and there are far too many of us who feel like we have been screwed by a mechanic in the past. And because of that, I think that there is a real and severe need for some sort of middleman that can advocate for the customer. My seventh side hustle that nobody has heard of is dog running. Now, I've talked about dog walking on this channel before, but I've never niched down on that industry into dog running specifically. Now, the fact is, there are a lot of people out there that have high energy pets, and there are a lot of people out there that have these pets but don't necessarily want to run with them or may not have the ability to run with them. And for those of you that have high energy pets, you probably know that it seems as though no matter how many walks you go on, no matter how many hours you play with them, they will never run out of energy. That's where dog running can come into play. Now, dog running is exactly how you would think this would be. It's whenever you run dogs, either by physically running with them or even having some sort of treadmill system that will allow the dog to go on a run with you on this treadmill. In fact, you can buy dog-specific treadmills for anywhere between $200 and $500. You could then put that into a dog running van and then go to people's houses and run their dogs for them. If you weren't interested in investing all of that money into that equipment for this type of side hustle, you could just simply take the dog on your daily run with you and you could get paid to do it. Now, whenever it comes to how to get involved in this type of side hustle, there are a few different ways that you could go about doing it. Number one, you could check out apps like Rover or Care.com. Both of these apps connect people with pet owners and you could connect with people that way. Additionally, you could go the route of Facebook, Craigslist, or even the neighbor social media app or website next door. And lastly, you could make connections with local vets, local grooming services, local pet stores, and you could promote your service there. The fact is, anybody who has a very high-strung, high-energy dog, they're probably looking for a solution, and they're probably reaching out to the experts in the dog community about what their options are. And if you can make a connection with those experts, then that's your end to people that need a dog runner. Number 6 is a car wash service. Not just any car wash service, a mobile car wash service that comes to you while you work. Now, the fact is, washing your car is a pain in the butt. It's something that for some reason I hate doing. There are 2 tasks I hate doing with my own vehicle. I hate getting gas and I hate washing my car. And as a result, I will procrastinate for as long as possible on doing both of those things. If you could create a business model where you go to people directly while they're at work and you detail their car without any inconvenience to them, there is a real significant need for that. People want to wash their cars, but they don't want to physically do it. And even the act of going to the car wash and sitting there for 20 to 30 minutes while their car is washed is something that is a bit too much even for some people. By providing this type of service, you not only, number 1, can make money off of the car wash, number 2, have it spread like wildfire via word of mouth to all of the office colleagues of your customers, and number 3, you can charge a premium because of the fact that you are coming to them and you are doing so while they're at work, thus making it completely convenient for them. This is a side hustle that has begun to gain some steam over the last few years, but it still isn't something that is super mainstream to where everybody would know about it. You can get involved with this type of side hustle again by Facebook, Craigslist, Nextdoor. You can even connect with offices directly and talk to like office managers trying to gauge the interest of a specific office or a specific workplace. And now that people are starting to return to their offices, I think that there is no better time to get started with this side hustle than it is today. Number 5 is a side hustle that I have never thought of before, but I think it is one that is so incredibly unique, and I think that there is a lot of opportunity here. And that is getting ordained and getting paid to complete wedding ceremonies. Now, this is something that is really cool because of the fact that there is a lot of people out there that do not want a traditional wedding. They maybe just want to do something non-traditional. Maybe they want to elope, but they don't want to go to Vegas and do that whole cheesy thing. They want to have some sort of small, low-key, non-traditional wedding. And whenever you go this route, it can sometimes be tricky if you need an ordained minister in order to create your wedding ceremony. Now, the fact is, in order for your marriage to be legally recognized in most states, you have to have somebody marry you. And that can be somebody like an ordained minister, a rabbi, a judge in some cases, and there are other examples as well. Unfortunately, in most states, I think Colorado is the only one where this isn't the case. You have to have some sort of person there during the marriage, and the person can't just be anybody, it has to be one of these figures. Now, for people with traditional weddings, this isn't an issue, but it's becoming more and more common for people to have non-traditional weddings. And as these non-traditional weddings are becoming more and more popular, the need for a traditional minister, I think, is becoming less and less popular, and people are going these alternative routes. And that's where an ordained minister can come in handy. If you were to become an ordained minister, it could cost you anywhere between $30 to $100 depending on the state. And then you could charge upwards of $300 per wedding ceremony to complete the ceremony for the couple. You could go non-traditional paths, like go on hikes with these couples and marry them in really cool locations, go to national parks, go to forests, do all of this cool stuff that traditional ministers wouldn't be able to do or wouldn't want to do. Now, similar to some of the other side hustles that I've discussed in this video, this one isn't as easy to start as some other ones because of the fact that there's no like app out there that can facilitate this transaction. There's no app that exists that can connect ordained ministers with people that are wanting an ordained minister. But I do think that one real viable path would be to just create a simple website. The fact is, this is a service that really is in need, and there isn't a whole lot of competition out there for non-traditional ordained ministers. In fact, I'm somebody who is currently in the process of planning a wedding, and this is something that I've actually looked into, and there are not a lot of options out there. And so because of that, I do think that this would be a great side hustle to start. My fourth side hustle is one that is definitely a bit boring, but it is a very good one to go down, and it certainly is unique, and that is a notary public. Now, I'm sure most of you guys who watch this channel know what a notary public is, but for those of you who don't know, it's basically somebody that notarizes that a signature is legit on a certain type of documents. For example, large loans or bank documents or government documents are oftentimes things that need to be notarized. Now, when it comes to a notary, you can find these types of services virtually everywhere. Banks offer these services, post offices offer these services. There are a variety of different options out there if you're somebody who needs a notary. But the one unique spin that you could put but on this business model is being a mobile notary, going to people that need a document notarized. You could charge about $50 to go to somebody's home or office to get something notarized. In addition to offering mobile services, you could also offer extras like going to somebody's house at an odd time or on the weekends, driving long distances, really accommodating to people that need something notarized right here and right now. Now, whenever I was doing research for this video, I found out that the process of becoming a notary is actually quite simple, and there is a small fee associated with becoming a notary as well, typically in the $100 range. But if you could gain some traction in this field and start getting more and more clients who need consistent notaries done, then you could easily recoup that cost over a period of a few weeks. Similarly to other side hustles that I've talked about today, you could get your clientele through just normal social media apps out there like Facebook, Craigslist, Nextdoor. You could create a website, you could run ads. There are a variety of different ways that you could go about getting your first customer. And I do believe that once you get your first customer, getting the ones after that will be significantly easier. The third side hustle that I want to talk about today is one that I have never heard of until I started researching this video, and it's one that I think is extremely clever, and that is a peer-to-peer app called Dolly. Now, what Dolly is it connects movers with people who need to hire movers, and you can get involved with Dolly two different ways. So the first way is you can sign up for Dolly as a mover, and you could do this under the premise of being able to lift more than 75 pounds and having a pickup truck. This is the first tier of kind of freelancer that exists on this platform. And under this tier, you can make $30 per hour. So let's say, for example, I was moving and I needed help moving, but I didn't necessarily need to hire a full-fledged moving company. Well, I could go onto Dolly, I could find a person out there that is able to lift heavy things and has a truck, and I could hire them for $30 per hour to help me move, or to just simply move all of my stuff for me. The second tier of workers that Dolly offers is somebody that can lift heavy objects but does not necessarily have a car. This is somebody that would not do the sole moving of a person, but would instead assist other movers. So they may assist somebody that actually does have a truck. This person in this tier could make $15 per hour. Now, the reason why I like this side gig is, number one, is the fact that movers and the need for movers is never going to go away. People will always move and they will never want to do it themselves. And because of that, the need for this type of app will never ever go away. It will always be needed. Number two is the fact that there is complete flexibility to what types of jobs you take and when you take them. That gives you freedom for you and your schedule. And number three, I love side hustles that involve exercise and involve that type of thing and don't involve sitting at a desk all day typing away. And because of that, I think that Dolly is really cool as well. Dolly exists both for businesses and individuals. So if you're a business and you need somebody to help you move something, you could hire a Dolly worker. Or if you're an individual moving homes or moving apartments, you could also hire a Dolly worker. The way that you can get started is you go on to dolly.com, you click become a helper, and then you fill out the form from there. It is very easy, and you can earn between $15 and $30 per hour. In some cases, you could even earn more. Number two on this list is one of the coolest, most unique side hustles that I've ever heard of. It is something that has never crossed my mind, but as a pet owner, it definitely should have crossed my mind. And this is an app called SNIFF. Now, what SNIFF is it is an app that connects landowners or backyard owners with pet owners. And how it works is, if you are a landowner or you have a backyard or you have a space, you can rent out that yard, the space, the acreage to somebody who wants to let their dogs run free on that land. And you do so on an hourly basis. Now, this side hustle is geared towards people that have a backyard. And the types of customers that would use this side hustle are people that have dogs but maybe live in apartments, and as a result, they don't have anywhere for their dogs to run free. This is especially good for people that may have aggressive dog breeds, and because of that, they can't allow their dogs to run free at like a traditional dog park. Now, I have two dogs. I have a pit bull mix and I have a lab mix, and my lab mix is the biggest jerk on the face of the planet. You cannot take him anywhere. In fact, I had to stop taking him to dog parks like 4 years ago because of his issues there. So if I was somebody that lived in an apartment, I could definitely see myself doing something like this on the weekends to allow for them to run free. I think that this is such a good idea. And if we turn over to SNIFF, you can see a bunch of the different options out there, including ones for $10 per hour, $6 per hour, $5 per hour, $15 per hour. There is a ton of different options. Now, this is of course not one of those side hustles that's gonna make you a ton of money. You're never gonna get rich by renting out your yard for $5 per hour, but I do think that it's something that if you like dogs and if you're not using your yard, I think that there is a real value behind this type of side gig. Now, in order to get started, you can just go on to sniffspot.com, you click host, and then you simply sign up from there. It is super easy to get started. You then simply just have to provide your address, different information on you and your location, take some photos of your backyard, and you'll be good to go. And the number one best, most unique side hustle on this list is one that I have never heard of. I think it is such an incredibly unique side hustle out there. And in my opinion, I think that it's one of those things that whenever I tell you what it is, all of us are going to say, that's a good idea. And this is a peer-to-peer sharing service called Neighbor. And what it does is it offers your unused space to people that need that space for storage. You get paid for providing the space, the user pays you for using your space, and it is basically a peer-to-peer storage unit website. Now, Neighbor touts itself to be 50% cheaper than traditional storage, 6 times safer than traditional storage, and also offers you free $25,000 in protection for your items that you store with a Neighbor storage facility. Now, when it comes to Neighbor, how it works is if you are somebody who wants to rent out your unused space, maybe you have a parking spot in front of your house that you never use, maybe you have a garage that you never use, maybe you have a space in your alleyway you never use, maybe you have a shed in your backyard and you don't have a use for it, maybe you have an attic that you don't use. You can take all of these unused spaces and you can then rent them out to people that need them. For example, on Neighbor's website, there is a simple paved space in a parking lot that is being rented for $53 per month. It is 14 feet by 9 feet, just a traditional parking space. In addition, there is an unpaved lot for $37 per month. We have a traditional garage like you would find in any residential house being rented out for $100 per month. We have an attic space being rented out for $15 per month. Basically, it's a great way to use your unused space and to make money from that space. Now, there are a ton of different ways that you could go about doing it. If you have a backyard, you could simply buy a shed, put that shed in your backyard, and then rent that shed out on Neighbor. You could even do this a couple of different times and have maybe 4 or 5 sheds. Another option is if you have an older, more rundown car and you don't mind that car being parked out on the street, you could park your car out on the street. You could then rent out your garage space. Or if you're somebody that maybe has a spare room, an unused attic, an unused basement, you could rent out all of these spaces for anywhere between $50, in some cases $200, $250 per month. Now, I think that this is such a genius idea for a handful of different reasons. Number one, there are a lot of people out there that have extra cars, or they may have a car that they don't drive often, and as a result, they would love to keep that at an off-site parking spot. Some of these cars are too nice to where they wouldn't want to store it on Neighbor, but there's a lot of cases where somebody may have a junk car that they're looking to fix up soon, and because of that, storing it at a Neighbor lot or a Neighbor garage would be perfect. Or maybe in some cases, somebody had a baby and they have a bunch of baby supplies, but they're not ready to get rid of that baby stuff because they want to have another baby, but they also don't want to store the baby stuff. You could rent a spot out on Neighbor. There are so many different applicable ways that this website and this service could be used, and I think that the opportunities for almost 100% passive income is so incredibly cool with this type of service. Now, in order to get started, all you do is go onto neighbor.com and you will see a green button in the upper right-hand corner that says list your space. You simply click on that, you fill out the required information, and then you'll be good to go. But with that being said, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I think that this was a really cool series of different side hustles that I had never heard of. I hope that I gave you some new side hustle ideas that you had never heard of. But like always, if you have any questions, comments, or if you have anything to add, then make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.